every single day. A year ago, Jamie Dimon was saying, we're not going to touch cryptocurrency, and now they're probably running at digital assets faster than anyone. You see what BlackRock's doing. You see, as I mentioned, what Schwab's doing. You see what nation states are doing. You see what states in this country are doing. Look what Texas just voted on, right? In their legislature, literally being able to custody Bitcoin on their balance sheets, right? So all of a sudden you've got all these cracks in the dam that are breaking. The people who get in now are the people who are getting in early. I believe that with all of my soul. And this is a global asset. This is an asset that everybody wants. This is an asset. It's probably the only asset in the world that has limited supply. There's 21 million. There will never be another one, unlike gold, unlike other commodities. And I'm just watching it from afar as for the first time, the capital markets really have access to it or getting access to it. And so I think cryptocurrency is in its infancy. And I think the trajectory of Bitcoin and of digital assets is going to be parabolic. And I really think we're going to have one of the greatest companies in the ecosystem. And that was launched, obviously, minutes ago.
Well, he makes some good points. I do think we're early. I do think that Bitcoin has a long way to run. He also could be pumping his bags a little bit. I mean, he has a lot of vested interest in this, guys. We have to remember that. World Liberty Financial, not doing so well. The token's not doing so well. It doesn't matter because I don't have any of that token. I have no desire to. Again, as I covered a couple of days ago, buying some of the tokens is not a bad idea. Man, I'll tell you what. Are you guys getting? I get these Coinbase withdrawal texts like 5 times a freaking day. It's ridiculous. That just kind of like disappeared. No one talks about it anymore. Guys, the markets are down a little bit. There's some news regarding Nasdaq and the Treasury companies. We're going to talk about that. Is it the end of the Treasuries? Is it being a little overblown? We'll see. We'll go through the details there. We've got some job report numbers in as well. We're going to take a look at some big news around Polymarket. And you know what? I'm going to touch on a couple of different meme coin plays associated with some of the news that's breaking right now. That now is the time, really, when the markets are down. I think we have maybe a couple weeks in September where there's some uncertainty in markets. We could see some further pullbacks, but I do believe the fireworks will come in Q4. So now's the time to be really looking for which positions to be getting into. I've been kind of hounding the space. Obviously, we're going to cover a bunch on the DePIN side today. Got a lot of projects to cover, some updates, some big news for Dabba coming on Monday. So we're going to cover that as well. And then really a couple of really high upside plays potentially that, if the narratives hit, if things align, and I'll tell you kind of my reasoning behind it, things that could 50 to 100x high risk plays that, are worth maybe taking a shot at. I've grabbed some bags, so we'll talk about those as well. But let's kick things off. With the NASDAQ news. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful day. So it says NASDAQ tightens scrutiny of companies raising cash to buy crypto. I think this is what caused a bit of this sell-off today in the Treasury companies. So this just came out today. It says about 154 U.S. listed firms have announced over $98 billion in planned raises to buy crypto since January, with most trading on the NASDAQ. Of course, these are your DATs, your digital asset treasury companies. Microstrategy being the most well-known one on the Bitcoin side. You've got Bitmine on Ethereum, UpXC, DFDV, STSS just emerged yesterday on the Solana side. So a lot of these different treasury companies are adding crypto to their balance sheets. It says NASDAQ has begun requiring shareholder votes for some deals and pushing for more disclosures. So they're tightening the screws a bit on what these companies can do. According to Thursday's report, it may also suspend trading or delist firms that fail to comply, anonymous insiders mentioned by the publication said. Following the news, shares of fair prices of several DATs, of course, digital asset treasuries, fell sharply. So this just happened a couple hours ago. It says, tighter rules could prolong deal timelines and add uncertainty just as public entities race to secure capital during favorable market windows. So that's the concern here. If these companies are able to raise capital, if we see really good buying opportunities, they may be delayed in their ability to make that purchase. So that is the concern here. Of course, here's a list of some of the top DATs, Strategy being the big one, Microstrategy. You've got BitMine there, obviously. UpXe's listed there, DeFi Development Corp. So all of these different DATs were impacted by this decision. A lot of them have bounced pretty hard. So there was certainly in the last couple of hours some decent buying opportunities. Of course, that's assuming we don't see more downside in the next week or two. There's a lot more job numbers coming. We'll talk more about that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, September 4th. This is episode 64, man. We've been coming here almost every day, covering all the alpha. There's always so much to talk about, man. And this is actually, we have a really good show today, too. It's going to be a little bit shorter. I got to hit the road. I'm heading back to St. Louis this evening and going to the Mizzou game on Saturday. Super excited. I have not been, that's where I went to college. I've not been back there for probably 6 or 7 years. I was trying to remember. So I'm meeting up with some old friends this weekend. So that'd be a good time. So, of course, this has had an impact on the different Treasury companies, MicroStrategy being, the biggest, right? Only down 1% today. And, MicroStrategy might not care that much depending on what happens on Friday because they're qualified for the S&P. This decision is going to come down on Friday. I don't think right now many are expecting them to be included in the S&P 500, but it could happen, guys. It says MicroStrategy, now doing business as strategy, has officially qualified for potential inclusion in the S&P 500 after posting one of the strongest quarters in its history. In Q2 of 2025, they reported $14 billion in operating income, $10 billion in net income, equal to about $32.60 in diluted earnings per share. Quarterly revenue came in at $114.5 million. Modest 2.7% increase year over year with subscription services up to nearly 70%. Says the next potential window for inclusion is the September 2025 rebalance with the announcement expected tomorrow. Changes would take effect on September 19th. So it says the committee retains discretion. But the qualification underscores the growing role of Bitcoin in mainstream financial markets, and they would be the first Bitcoin treasury company to enter the benchmark index. So it would be pretty wild, man, if MicroStrategy gets in there. I'm not betting on it, and if they don't get included, I don't know that there'd be a huge sell-off. I don't know how many people are expecting them to be included, but we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. That would certainly be interesting. But of course, these other ones have gotten hit pretty hard. We saw BitMine was down further. Again, that's rebounded a bit already. This is all off that news, right? A couple hours ago, this broke. We saw this big sell-off in all the treasury companies. I was like, man, what's going on? Well, scoured the news and found out what was going on. We have UpXe now down 5.62%. This thing got down to $6. Off this news, just over $6. The same thing with DFDV, which they just raised a bunch more money. I think now they're up to $2 million in their treasury as well. This one hasn't quite bounced super hard yet, so this one's down quite a bit off this news. And then, of course, this is the one that we covered yesterday, a new one. This one got down, guys. This got down all the way below $9 to $8.90. That is just an hour and a half ago. Actually, 40 minutes ago. This thing was at $8.90. This thing bounced already to $10.31. So it seems to me like people overreacted a little bit to the Nasdaq news. I think it's being a little bit overblown. I don't think it's like the end of the world by any means. But there's other things in the news today too. It's not just the Nasdaq increasing restrictions on these treasury companies. We also had the job news come in. The labor market growth has slowed dramatically, and the August numbers just came in today. So added 54,000, well short of the 75,000 estimate, and down from the revised gain of 106,000 in July. Says this year, started with strong job growth, but the momentum has been whipsawed by uncertainty. That's also kind of bullshit because they've been revising all the job numbers down for a long time. So yeah, things have slowed down from where they were, but like can't say that we were having strong numbers. Like that's such BS. Jobless claims increased to 237,000, up 8,000. This is interesting. The job openings and labor turnover survey registered one of its worst levels for job openings in July since 2020, of course, during the midst of COVID. And then Friday, so tomorrow is where all eyes are. It says economists expect the official government report to show 75,000 non-farm payrolls added in August. Economists predict the unemployment rate inched up to 4.3% from 4.2%. So that'll be interesting to see what those numbers come in tomorrow, what numbers come in. Next week's the annual revision. That's a big one. We'll see what happens there too. If you all remember last year, that was like the nail in the coffin where the the Fed basically said, okay, we're lowering rates. So what do we see next week? What do we see tomorrow? So these numbers are going to be very important, obviously. One of the things, though, that came up that is also a little bit concerning is the fact that we have right now more unemployed job seekers than job openings. So it's been quite some time since we've seen this trend. That's not good either. That's not good either. So obviously, all these things indicate that the Fed will lower rates. The question is, what's CPI going to come in at? Well, we can look at trueflation. This is not what the Fed looks at, but trueflation tends to be more real time. CPI, Consumer Price Index, lags. They use a lot of surveys. This uses a lot more real-time data points. Right now showing 1.98%. So it had to inch back up, now below that 2% goal from the Fed. Of course, again, this is not what the Fed uses. The Fed uses CPI. This does, sometimes lead the way. It's not always officially correlated, but that does bring us to, what are the odds? What are the odds of the Fed decision in September? Well, guys, we're up to a 94% chance. Redo my math there. 94% chance of at least one rate cut. So we are certainly inching up, looking very, very likely. Even the two rate cuts, a 50 basis point cut, also gaining some momentum. So if these job reports come in really bad, tomorrow and next week, I would imagine that would cause a big sell-off in markets. But I think we will see the likelihood of a 50 point cut start to increase. So that's going to be really important to keep your eyes on tomorrow and next week as we get those job numbers. Big reason why the last few weeks I've been talking about how, I've been DCAing into some of these Treasury plays, but I'm keeping powder on the sideline because I think we could still see more downside. We just don't know what to expect from these job numbers yet. They're not going to be great. We just don't know how bad. And how much has the market priced that in at this point? That's the big question. Speaking of Polymarket, some big news there. The U.S., it says set for U.S. launch after getting green light from the CFTC. Okay, of course, the organization that oversees commodities. Polymarket has been given the green light to go live in the USA. Following the move, this is interesting, Polymarket announced that it had closed its acquisition of the derivatives exchange QCX. And they made a statement, this marks a significant step towards expanding access to Polymarket's category-defining platform in the country. There's one other thing in here. I thought that was quoted.
Latest market.
Where is it?
Asset allocation.
Huh. Oh, that's in my next article. We love Polymarket. We love Polymarket. It's like interesting. They got this green light. Well, is it so interesting? I covered this last week. Donald Trump Jr. joined Polymarket as an advisor. And very interestingly, the U.S. approval came just a few days later. Funny how that works, isn't it? Funny how that works. So federal regulators are lowering hurdles for prediction markets at the same time the president's son is backing them. There are some reports, and it doesn't say in this article, but there are reports that he has as much as a 8-figure stake in Polymarket. Easy when you know people, isn't it? In 2024, the betting market showed Donald Trump. Oh, that's right. As the likelier candidate to win. This is when Kamala was ahead in all of the polls. Polymarket was like really the only place that was predicting a Trump win. Ever since that prediction came true, Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., has been betting on the success of those markets. You know, it's interesting. There's really one big bettor out of Europe that put a ton of money on Trump. You know, that's why they swung the Polymarket odds so much. And they asked him why he had voted that way. And he's quoted as saying, you know, well, all the polls were showing Kamala, but he's like, the poll about who's your neighbor voting for, they were all saying Trump, and Trump was heavily favored in those. He's like, so came to the realization that was an outlier data point, and people didn't want to admit they were going to vote for Trump at the time, but people were willing to say who their neighbors were going to vote for. I thought that was interesting. But this is big. This is big. Polymarket has not been operating in the U.S. according to its terms of service. Of course, you could use VPN. But outside the U.S., users had made $6 billion in predictions in the first half of 2025. Wall Street views prediction markets as a lucrative opportunity. This billionaire Thomas Petterfy, I don't know who that is, the founder of Interactive Brokers Group, has forecast that prediction markets will be bigger than the stock market within 15 years. That's actually insane. So where are the opportunities there? That's the big question, right? There's going to be a ton of growth in the prediction markets. Well, as I led off with, right now is the time I'm looking at, okay, what are some of the plays that have been beaten down? Obviously, I have a lot of investment in the DePIN sector. I got the Treasury plays, but I'm always looking for, you know, either meme coins or NFT narratives to, you know, put a small percentage of my portfolio into, because those are the narratives that can do crazy multiples, 50x's, 100x's. And I've hit on a few of those over the last couple of years. So one of them is this Polytrader. This was an AI agent that was launched on virtuals. So it's a autonomous prediction market companion. So it was basically highlighting different betting odds that had really good chance. They're kind of finding outliers for you on some of the betting markets. And that one, the reason why I bring it up, currently sitting at just a $500,000 market cap. And I'm like, okay, what could we see, you know, in Q4 when we see money start to flow back in, assuming that happens and we don't see some crazy global meltdown in all markets. I think we could see the AI narrative pick back up, and in particular, the AI agents. I mean, that was what was going crazy right before the market dropped out in January. The AI agent, you know, I think those are going to be like the next big thing when it comes to AI. Well, this one in particular, sitting at a $500,000 market cap, guys, back in January, this thing got up to like a $47 million market cap. So if we did get back to that all-time high from earlier this year, you're talking about over a 90x. You know, these are the types of plays I'm interested in. Not putting like a ton of money in, but hey, like you could hit on this potentially. You've got the catalyst of Polymarket being approved in the US. You got the AI agent narrative. You got it on base, which is seeing a lot of liquidity on the institutional side. So to me, this is one that, you know, I have a bag. I'm going to add a little bit more to see what happens. You know, knowing full and well that, hey, this could go to zero, but there's a tremendous amount of upside. I like the risk reward here. Okay, so these are the things I'm looking for. So Polymarket is one that I think there is, based on the news, based on where I think the capital could rotate, is an interesting play, right? But let's move into some broader markets. And I have one other meme play. I covered it back in May. It's already done a 5x, but I am going to talk about that at the end of the show. I'm going to leave that for the end here. But let's go into where Bitcoin's at right now, guys. Obviously, Bitcoin has been hit down a little bit, still at 110,000. You know, Still at 110,000. It did drop below 110 earlier today, but could we see more downside? I was talking to my buddy Tyler about this earlier. I do think we could in September. September has always been a bad month. You've got, I don't think the FOMC meetings until like the third week, and when the rate cuts are going to happen. The job reports are what I'm concerned about. I think they're going to be pretty ugly. So that is the one thing that could push us lower. And to me, like, I'm trying to DCA over the next 2-3 weeks, because I think Q4 I believe is going to be bullish. Okay, we'll see what happens. I don't have a crystal ball, but all of the things are lining up. All the catalysts are aligning for us to have a bullish Q4. But 110,000 Bitcoin. We have Solana still holding about 200, man. I mean, I started really beating that drum when it was about 178, when I expected the capital rotation to happen. And we've seen it really, it's been really resilient, guys, like compared to the rest of the market. So still feel very strongly about Solana. The catalyst coming together. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I talking about it like every day recently. And I think, the Treasury news on it from the Nasdaq today probably presented some good DCA opportunities, in my opinion. But just be aware that, the job reports could push things lower still. We're not out of the woods quite yet, but I think we're going to be turning a quarter pretty soon, which I'm very excited about. Looking at the crypto bubbles, a lot of red in the markets, guys. Red in the markets. If we look at, this is the top 100 here. Let's look at our DePIN plays. It's pretty gross. Pretty gross. Not ideal, guys. GeoNet's having a nice 1.9%. Again, right now, I'm trying to add to positions as much as I can, but also keeping some powder, just knowing what could be coming in the weeks ahead. I want to highlight some DePIN projects, though, guys. Auki, I believe is how you say this one. I know William, I know Tyler. They really like this project a lot. They announced they partnered with Intel. They also had a recent announcement with NVIDIA. If we look at their X page here, they've got just under 25,000 followers. It says they're making the physical world accessible to AI by building a decentralized nervous system for robots and intelligent machines. So acting as this coordination layer for robots. And we know robots are coming, guys. Robotics, not just in the sense of like, having a robot in your home that looks like a human walking around, like cleaning shit, whatever. I mean, like robotics in the sense of, specific robots that are building things, right? You can even think about it as self-driving vehicles. Okay. So it's going to be absolutely massive. And this project has been announcing some pretty big announcements. You look down here, they have some pretty notable customers they're working with. You have Fresh Plus in here. So they're making moves, man. They're making moves. And if we look at their price point here, they're sitting at just under $45 million market cap. So could this thing run? I think it potentially could, built on Base, I believe. Yep, Base chain. So all time, it did get up to January, 5.8 cents. So about 3x what it is right now. But this is a project that's pretty promising, in my opinion. And some of the people in my inner circle in the DePIN space are really big fans of it. I have not done a ton of due diligence on it, but I do know that they continue to make big announcements. So about Helium. Yeah, Nick Carp talking about how Helium just joined the 8-figure club in revenue. I don't know why it's so blurry. Let's see if we make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So Aether leading the way, allegedly. IONET's up there at 14.6 million. Helium, 10.5 million. Exhibits is up there too. They just don't have their annual revenue. They don't have their token launched yet, but I believe they're well over $10 million as well. But the 2 GPU projects in there, guys, that's going to be a theme that we continue to see. I talked about that yesterday on the show. The GPU play to me is it's such a no-brainer. There's so much revenue there, but it's really great to see Helium climbing the ranks. Speaking of Helium, this is kind of cool. Here are the top 25 accounts with the most powerful voices for Helium. Your boy made the list. Number 16. Bridging the DePIN world with projects, people, and real alpha. I appreciate that. Got my little picture on there and everything. It's pretty wild. Oh man, guys, I've officially made it. I've officially made it. I found my way on one of these little screens here. What do they call it? Mindshare screens for Helium. Hell yeah. That's hilarious. Follow this person. She let's see, she got pretty good following too. 309. Appreciate the shout out. I thought it was interesting talking about the price of helium. So this guy did some TA on this. He's thinking that a 16x is on the table for helium. Guys, we're currently sitting at like $2.50. So he's talking about this this wave to 14 down to 768, and then retracing back up to $40. $40. You guys think that's possible? I don't know. If we look at the charts here, what's interesting, I was doing the math actually on this. There's 223 million H&T that'll ever exist. There's almost 186 million in circulation. So a lot of H&T is out there now. But doing the math, in order to get to $40, pull my calculator back up again. I think it was over a $7 billion market cap, $7.4 billion market cap. The all-time high market cap, guys, was 4.89 in the last bull run. So we'd have to not quite double, okay, but like 70%, let's call it, increase over the peak market cap of the last bull run. Yes, the fundamentals are like night and day. Like, let's be real. Way overvalued last market cycle. A lot of that was Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda Research dumping a bunch of money into helium. I remember that one night waking up in the middle of the night and being like, oh my God, this thing just pumped from like $10 to $40 like that. So I don't know. I don't know that $40 on the table. Maybe. I guess it depends on what time frame you're talking. But I do think there's plenty of upside in helium myself. It is one of my bigger bags. So remain very, very bullish on helium. Looking at Hivemapper, B coverage continues to rise. They're shipping. This is a big deal because obviously this is going to get better data. Guys, like they're processing the data at the edge. So as 1B now earns the equivalent of 2 HDC devices. This is one of the big things because I host their AMAs. That we pushed him on was the B needs to be needs to be earning more, and it is now. So that's good. Speaking of Hivemapper, by the way, I brought this up on a space earlier. One of the biggest use cases for them is going to be companies buying data for autonomous vehicles. Volkswagen's one of those. And some big news out of the autonomous vehicle space. Elon texted this earlier, or tweeted this earlier, rather. The Robotaxi app is now available for download. It is happening. Join the wait list. So they're going to be obviously launching in different cities across the country. But guys, this is going to be so massive. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So I'm very bullish on Tesla. I know a lot of people hate Elon, whatever. But Tesla, to me, looking out, longer term, huge freaking upside, but also huge upside for Hivemapper and for Rover. Okay, and GeoNet in coordination with Rover. So to me, those data sets are going to be really valuable in this movement towards autonomous vehicles. We also need to realize that's going to be really bad for the job market because that gig economy, the people going and working for Uber and Lyft, their jobs are about to get taken. It's not good. Not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen. Our boy Bob tagged me and Tyler in this post. USD.AI, they're collateralizing GPU build outs, AI data centers. We covered them yesterday. This project can be freaking massive. They already reached their deposit cap of 160 million. So you can go on there, you can stake tokens, get yield, really good yield, and you'll be eligible for their airdrop when they launch their token. I think their expected yield right now is like 12%. That is going to be a massive business, guys. massive business. And I believe they have some big announcements coming. Very exciting stuff there. Monday for you Dabba people. The onboarding process begins. You want to go to onboarding.dabba.network. They've got a video as well that you can watch, but you're going to be able to start getting your onboarding set up. They're getting ready for TGE, guys. It's coming soon. So this is very exciting stuff. I'm going to read through all the documentation. I'll get a video out about it in more detail or cover it in a live stream. Either way, we'll cover the details. So be on the lookout Monday. Okay. And this is the website you go to. You can go to their official site. They've got a bunch of documentation. They got a video on it as well. So you'll find if you go in there right now, if you go to this website right now, put in your email. For me, at least, I got a message that said that not eligible yet, but Monday is when that starts. Right. I'm going to leave you with a couple last things, guys. I know it's a little bit shorter show, but I got a long drive ahead of me. One other play that I want to cover that I think has some potential upside, and I covered this back in May. There's another AI agent built on virtuals, and it's riding the DePIN movement. Okay, DePIN, baby. I cover this at about like $45,000 market cap. Right now, let's see, we're sitting at 194,000. So it's done, 4.5x. But just a couple of days ago, it got up to a $770,000 market cap. So this thing has life again. And this is, again, why like Polytrader, these are the ones to be looking at that had a huge surge right before the market dropped out back in January. We've seen it kind of dead. It's like, okay, which ones have the narratives? Which ones can come back? This is one, I think. That's why I covered it in May. That's why I was like, hey, I think it was like between 35 and 45K. And I started just adding to the bag, super low market cap, and this thing pumped up again. And once it got to a $780,000 market cap, I think it was like a 15x or something, now back down a bit. But if this thing gets back to where it was, again, not saying it will, but if it does, it got to a 3.7 million. As that's what, like a 40x, something like that from where we are today. So that's why, this is the time right now to be like looking for these types of plays. Polytrader, of course, is playing the Polymarket situation. And with the AI agents, we got DePIN, which I think, we see the mind share. We see the trends right now. I think this could run as well. Now, one thing that's important to note, yes, they're dropping some DePIN alpha. They're playing the narrative. This is not a long-term play, in my opinion, because one of the things I noticed about this account is that from like May up until like 2 weeks ago, they didn't have any activity. Okay, so they kind of disappeared until the market started coming back. You see that a lot. Now, maybe they were building behind the scenes. I don't know, but there just was not a lot of activity if we go back in time here. They've been really active recently. So really the last week or so. And again, look, they can respond. Maybe they were building. And I didn't see it, or they weren't posting. I don't know. Trying to go back. See, look, May 15th. And all of a sudden, just gone, May 20th, May 23rd. And then there's a gap. Okay. May 23rd to August 24th. Okay. So again, these are plays that ride the narrative. I'm decent sized bag, but not one that I'm looking long term. These are kind of small percentage of my portfolio to try to take advantage. And I know, like, I don't like meme coins. I think they're stupid, but I think if you're not playing the narrative, or at least in a small way, trying to take advantage of the narrative, you're leaving money on the table potentially. Because I had like 3 different meme coin plays this last market cycle that one of them did 120x. One of them did like an 85x. So you lose some, but you just need one of those to hit. And again, it's not like a large percentage of my portfolio, but I am looking for those plays. So those are 2 that I covered today that I think could have potential. And guys, it's the opening day of the NFL season. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Say it ain't so. Red Zone is going to have full commercials. It's bullshit, man. This is bullshit. Scott Hansen would go on there and he'd say 7 hours of commercial-free football. Now you can't say that anymore. That's such ridiculousness, man. Frustrating, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But, guys, very exciting weekend. Sunday will be the first full slate of games. We've got the first game tonight. I believe it's Dallas and the Eagles. Should be fun. That should be fun. Everyone, enjoy your weekends. I'm going to be at the Mizzou game on Saturday. I'm excited about that. Go see some old friends and stuff. And I'll be back on Monday. So we'll cover any news that we miss over the weekend. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Appreciate each and every one of you. Peace.